In this lesson, we'll discuss Sed's command-line flags. -N suppresses the default printing of each line. -E allows specifying multiple commands on a single command line, and -F specifies a file of commands. Like most Unix commands, Sed accepts command-line flags, or options, which are special command-line arguments beginning with a dash. These flags, if used, appear between the word Sed and the following command, separated from both by a space. Usually Sed prints or outputs each line. If the S command makes any changes to the line, it is printed after the changes are applied. The -N flag tells Sed not to print anything unless explicitly specified. To specify printing, you add the P modifier to a command, which tells Sed to print the output of the command. For example, as you've seen earlier, Sed S the to the Duke of York.txt replaces the first lowercase the on each line with all caps the. However, as you see, even lines that are not changed are printed. If you add the -N flag, this produces no output at all. The -N flag prevents anything from being printed unless explicitly specified. We'll add a P modifier to the end of the S command, which says that after you've made that substitution, you should print it. So in this case, it prints only the lines in which the specified substitution occurred to be printed. Note that the first two lines of the file, which do not include lowercase the, were not printed in this case. The P modifier can be combined with the G modifier in either order. For example, we can do change the to the, print it globally. This globally substitutes lowercase the for uppercase and prints it where the substitution is made. But again, lines in which no thes occur are not printed. Or you could do the same thing with, instead of PG, you could do GP, and it produces exactly the same effect. Both change every lowercase the to all caps, printing only the changed lines. When no command line options are used, for example in Sed the to the Duke of York.txt, Sed interprets the first argument on the command line as a command, in this case an S command, and any following words as file names to operate on. If you wanted to perform two operations in a single Sed command, for example to change the first lowercase up on each line to all caps and the first lowercase down on each line to all caps, you might try this. Sed will change up to uppercase up, and we'll change down to uppercase down. You might try that, but it doesn't work. The second S command is interpreted as a file name, and there is no file called s/down/down. To specify multiple commands to Sed in a single command line, precede each command with the -E flag. For example, Sed -E change up to up, and -E change down to down. The -E flag tells Sed that the following argument is a command and not a file name. So in this case, we're changing the first up to uppercase and the first down to also uppercase. And in the last line, you see that both commands are applied to the same line. All the commands are executed in order on each line before it is output. For example, if you want to change lowercase the to all caps, lowercase them to him, and lowercase they were to he was, you could try something like this. We'll change the to the globally. We'll change them to him globally. And we'll change they were to he was globally. If you want to change the to the, them to him, and they were to he was globally, it won't work the way you'd expect, because the first the changes the THE in them before the second command gets a chance to change them to him. In the third line, he marched them up to the top of the hill. You would have expected the second S command, changing them to him, to change them to him, but it did not, because the first S command had changed the to uppercase the, and it was no longer available for the second. Moving the commands around avoids this problem. For example, we'll change them to him globally first, then we'll change they were to he was, because this one has to be last. If that last command were not last, then it would interfere with both the change of them and the change to they were because of the letters THE in each one. Putting the commands in a different order makes them work as expected, because the third one now no longer has an opportunity to interfere with the first two. Technically, you can omit the space between the -e flag and the following command. For example, you could say change up to up and down to down. So you can omit the space between the -e and the corresponding command and combine them into a single shell command line argument. And that will work, but I don't recommend it. I advise including the spaces between the -e and the following command so that the command can more easily be read. Some versions of sed, but not all, also let you use a semicolon to specify multiple sed commands as a single command line argument. For example, you could say, we'll change up to uppercase globally, and we'll change down to down uppercase globally. It does work in this version of sed, but I believe that the -e option is more readable and maintainable. So you can do this, but it's not necessarily portable, and I don't think it's very readable. If you have a large number of commands that you want to use in a single invocation of sed, you can also do so by putting them in a file, one per line, and using the -f flag to specify the file name. For example, let's make a script. A sed script, we'll just type it in with cat. We'll make lowercase up to uppercase globally, and we'll change lowercase down to uppercase globally. Control D, ends input, and now we can say sed -f script Duke of York.txt. The -f option reads commands from the following argument instead of specifying the actual command on the command line. So in this case, it reads the up and down translations from the script file, applies them to the Duke of York text file, and puts the output to the standard output. In most versions of sed, the file can also include comments, which are lines that begins with a £sign. Some older versions of sed allow only one comment, which must be on the first line. Some newer versions also allow comments within a line. In addition to executing commands in order, a sed script used with -f can also include a variety of control flow options, which I'll show you later. Every version of sed accepts the three flags -n, -e, and -f that we've discussed here. Other versions, such as GNU and Mac OS X, accept other command line flags. See the documentation for your version of sed for more information.